Well, hi everyone, and welcome to TOOP TV, and welcome to Beaumont. Later in the show we'll be having a look through this magnificent property, and we'll also be exploring some of the secrets of the area in our Suburb Insider. Also today, more beautiful properties featured on SA's finest, including a beachside residence in Victor Harbour. And of course we're live and interactive, so don't forget to send in all your real estate questions. We'll be answering them at the end of the show. Well, aren't auctions just in the media spotlight just at the moment? We will be talking a bit about that on the show a little later on. And we'll also be looking at building inspections and perhaps some tips on why it's important to get a building inspection and how you can make the most out of it. But now on Inside Story, we're going to have a look at why Adelaide is our capital city's most affordable living.
Good news, Adelaide, we've overtaken Hobart as the most affordable Australian capital city. Research by the National Centre for Social and Economic Modelling shows compared to the most expensive city, Sydney, the South Australian capital is 6.81% cheaper overall, as our housing and food costs are the lowest in the nation. Despite state housing costs slowly starting to rise, the amount Adelaide residents spend on mortgages is remarkably 39.4% lower than in Sydney, while rental costs are 37.9% lower. The difference in house prices is the main factor giving South Australians the advantage over other states, as on average we earn 10.1% less per week than the New South Wales capital. This research also found our education costs are the highest in the nation, while our food costs are 4.7% below Sydney's. But South Australians be warned to take advantage of this affordability while it lasts. The state's mining boom is expected to cause substantial growth in the economic and population sectors, which would reduce the affordability gap.
Well, certainly plenty of statistics to digest there. Certainly a couple of interesting ones for me, that 39% lower in our borrowings against our New South Wales counterparts, but we're only 10% below in our earnings. So that's certainly a big factor in terms of why we're so much more affordable than some of the other capital cities. But perhaps to have a little bit of a chat about auctions, I have got Sharon Gray, the President of the Society of Auctioneers and Appraisers, here in the studio with me now. How are you, Sharon?
Good, thank you, Tim.
Good to have you back again.
Yes, it's good to be back.
Yeah, well, we'll get into it and perhaps have a little bit of a chat about why things are the way they are at the moment, specifically the 3-year slump in auction clearance rates.
Yes.
Why?
Well, to be honest, I can't really give you an exact answer for that. I suppose you have to take into consideration the global financial crisis is sort of catching up with us a bit. We're a bit insulated against that to start with, so that might be catching up with us. But the utility costs, electricity, water, interest rates, people aren't sure what they're going to do. So a lot of people seem to be sitting on their hands and not actually making a decision on purchasing a property.
Cost of living is certainly a factor in people's decision making. The other thing that certainly I think is playing a role at the moment is the fact that the market is a little bit uncertain of where prices sit.
Yes.
So to pick on auction as being not performing as well as it has in the past, I would have said that the whole market is not performing at levels that we'd like to see.
Most definitely, and I still believe that if you're thinking about selling your property, then auction does give you the best opportunity to sell your property in a really good time frame. I mean, the average days on market now for a property that doesn't go to auction, you're looking 8, 10, sometimes 12 weeks, sometimes even longer.
Yes.
The auction process, you've got a 4-week, sometimes a 3-week campaign, and then if it doesn't sell at auction, generally you've got a really good idea of where the market sees your property, and you've got a fantastic opportunity to sell it quite quickly after auction day.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. Is there a standard time for auction campaigns to run?
Well, it can be, generally it's a 4-week campaign, so you'll have 3 weekends of opens and then you'll auction on that 4th weekend. But we have seen some campaigns do run over 3 weeks, so that you've got the one less week of advertising and you're condensing it in, because generally whichever method of sale you use, in the first couple of weeks you'll find out you know, the people who are interested will turn up in those first 2 weeks. So you can sort of limit your time frame a bit with that.
Often get your best interest
at the
best
very
levels
beginning.
at that time.
Yeah. People that are looking for a property watch everything that's coming onto the market. So if there's something new, they tend to jump on it fairly quickly.
Generally geared up, ready to buy, finance
exactly
in order,
right.
ready to go. Next question, I guess, is are vendors expecting too much money for their properties at the moment?
That's a tricky one, because the poor old vendors are in a hard spot at the moment, because whenever we go to appraise a property, then what we're looking at are past sales for the area, and obviously things that are selling at the moment as well, but a lot of what we're putting prices on homes with is past information. So with the market sort of in a bit of a state of adjustment at the moment, which is probably a soft term for it, then we're not always knowing exactly where that property is going to sit. So sometimes the poor old vendor is thinking that this is where their property is going to be, but the market's not with
exactly.
them.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting point you make, because perhaps something that people should bear in mind is that the statistics that people use, that we use, that valuers use, are often even 5 months old.
That's exactly right.
So they're reflecting what was happening even back into 2010.
Yes,
So
most definitely.
You can
and
easily
things are
see how
drastically
things
different
can change
today than they were at the end of 2010 even.
Yeah. Now, should we be worried about what's going on?
I don't think we should be worried so much as aware.
Yep.
People who are worrying about it, well, there's nothing you can do about it. The market's going to do what the market's going to do. All you can do is put your property on the market as best you can and see where the market sees the value.
Yep.
Just be aware that if somebody's prepared to put an offer in on your property, then it's a pretty good idea to have a good look at it.
And I guess it'd be fair to say, if you're buying and selling in the same market,
that's exactly right.
There's a fair bit of relativity in what might happen.
That's right. Purchasers are quite excited at the moment, because they can put offers in and negotiate really well for a property. And so if you are looking at taking a little bit less for your own home, bear in mind that it's quite likely that if you are looking at something for yourself, you could negotiate a good price on that too.
Or you already have.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
Now, I guess to address the buyers at auction, often they're not bidding.
No, they're not.
Why should they? And second question is, if they were bidding against a vendor bid, why would they do that?
Well, the first thing is, if somebody wants to buy a property, you have to put an offer in. You're not going to buy it by doing nothing.
Yep.
So most people that come to an auction have got a pretty good idea of what they're prepared to spend, and for whatever reason they're choosing to not put their hand up at auction. Well, what this does is it creates a behind closed doors situation after the auction. If there's 2 or 3 people that are all in the same boat, that are all interested in that property but think, well, if he's not going to put his hand up, I'm not going to put my hand up, then you've got the negotiation afterwards where you don't know where you stand against another interested party.
Yes.
Put your hand up. If you want to buy the property, then put an offer forward. It might not be where you're going to end up, but just somewhere to start.
It is at least the start of a negotiation, isn't it?
It certainly is, and put yourself in the box seat to be the person that is negotiating.
All right, and I mean, I have my thoughts on why you bid against a vendor bid, but if you've done that, you've put your hand up and you've said, this is what I'm going to pay on this bid, and then the auctioneer takes a vendor bid against that bid, why would you bid again?
Because you do put yourself in that box seat to be the person that they negotiate with first. Now, auctioneers don't have to go back to the highest bidder to negotiate first. Generally, they do, and they will basically let you know before the auction starts if they are negotiating with the highest bidder to the vendor's reserve price. So if you're the only one that's put your hand in the air and you're the highest bidder after that vendor bid, then you're the person that they're going to speak to, and you can decide what you're prepared to pay before it becomes a public forum.
And I guess the thing I would throw in on the end of that is that if the bidders are standing back and digging their heels in on a day where the vendor has a lot of expectation to make a sale, the natural thing for them to do is to dig their heels in.
That's exactly right.
And then you end up with a big impasse and nothing happens.
That's exactly
right. If people gradually edge towards where they both want to be, sometimes it all comes
you can
together.
get a good result. That's exactly right.
Now, I know we're running out of time, but before we finish, can I just ask, the Golden Gavel was on a couple of weeks ago.
Yes.
An exciting night?
It was a great night.
Yep.
It's the Golden Gavel's where we recognise auction excellence, basically. We have heats and then 10 finalists in the senior category compete, and Michael Fenn from LJ Hooker was the winner this year, did a fantastic job.
Yep.
There's a Rising Star category for auctioneers who have done less than 10 auctions in the field.
Okay, yep.
And that was won by Edward Gaynor this year, who's at LJ Hooker Stirling. And he actually won the School Auction Idol a couple of years ago, which is
excellent.
where auctioneers in the industry go into high schools and train high school students in the art of auction and teach them all about real estate.
Well, it's nice to see that there's a career path emerging from...
And about 3 of those high school students that have competed previously have gone on to careers in the real estate industry.
Oh, brilliant. Well, listen, stay with us for a moment. We are going to go and have a look behind the blinds.